Once upon a time, there was a little girl who always wore a red cape and was called Red Riding Hood by everyone in her village. One day, she came home to her mother, taking a rich cake from the oven. Red Riding Hood thought she should visit her grandmother and bring her some cake, some fruit, and a bottle of wine. Her grandmother had been ill for a few days already, and Red Riding Hood and her mother wanted to surprise her. They put everything into a small basket, and as the little girl was just about to leave the house and set out for the forest, her mother held her hand and said, "Don't go too deep into the forest. Stay on the path. Always follow the path and don't leave it. Be careful, as the forest is a dangerous place for a young girl. Take care and stay safe." Red Riding Hood promised to be careful and left. She walked for a while, singing and skipping and enjoying the journey to her grandmother's house. After a while, she discovered a small area in the forest with many beautiful flowers. She stopped and thought, "What gorgeous flowers! I shall pick some for my grandmother. She'll surely love them." She began to pick the most beautiful and colorful ones, and after a little while, she had collected a nice little bouquet for her grandmother. Then suddenly she realized how far into the wood she had wandered, and she was very afraid. She turned around and headed back to the path as quickly as possible. On her way, she met a wolf who lived in this part of the forest. "Hello, little girl. What brings you to the forest? Don't you know that it is dangerous for little girls to leave the path?" asked the wolf. "I just wanted to collect some flowers for my ill grandmother. She lives on the other side of the forest. I better go now," said the little girl. "Didn't you see the beautiful blue flowers behind those trees? They would be lovely in your bouquet," said the wolf. This seemed like a good idea to Red Riding Hood, so she decided to collect some blue flowers. In the meantime, the wolf ran to the grandmother's house. He knocked on the door, and the grandmother answered, "Who is there? I'm ill, and I'm too weak to leave my bed." "Is it you, granddaughter? Just come in. The door is open." The bedroom was very dark, because all the windows were shut. Therefore, her grandmother didn't see the wolf. The wolf ran quickly towards the bed and devoured the grandmother. Then he put on her clothes, put her glasses on his nose, and got into the bed. In the meantime, Red Riding Hood had finished collecting flowers for her bouquet and had arrived at the house. She knocked at the door, and her grandmother answered, "Who is there? I'm ill, and I'm too weak to leave my bed." "Is it you, granddaughter? Just come in. The door is open." As it was still very dark in the bedroom, the little girl didn't notice that it was the wolf that lay in the bed. She approached the bed, and when she saw her grandmother, she asked, full of surprise, "Grandmother, why do you have such large ears?" And the wolf answered, "They help me to hear you better." "And why do you have such big eyes?" "They help me to see you better." "And why are your hands so big?" "They help me to hug you tighter." And why do you have such a terrifying big mouth full of sharp teeth?" "To help me eat you," shouted the wolf, and seized Little Red Riding Hood and devoured her. Then he lay down on the bed again and fell asleep because his stomach was so full. He started to snore very loudly. After a while, a hunter came by the grandmother's house and heard the wolf snoring. "How loudly does the old woman snore! I will have a look to be sure that everything is all right," thought the hunter. He entered the house and found the wolf in the grandmother's bed. "Finally, I have found you. I've been looking for you everywhere." The hunter wanted to shoot the wolf with his rifle, but then it occurred to him that the wolf might have eaten the grandmother and decided to wait. He looked around for a pair of scissors and found some in the kitchen. He used the scissors to open the wolf's belly, and soon he could already see the little girl. He dragged her out and went on cutting, and soon he dragged the grandmother out of the wolf's stomach. Both were well and unharmed. Red Riding Hood ran quickly to the nearby river and picked up some heavy stones. She brought them to the hunter and filled the wolf's stomach with the stones, and they closed his belly with a needle and some thread. Then they decided to wake the wolf up. The wolf jumped out of the bed and felt the burning in his throat. He ran to the river and started to drink, but the heavy stones in his belly dragged him into the water and the wolf drowned. The hunter, Red Riding Hood, and her grandmother sat down at the table together and enjoyed the cake, fruit and wine, which Red Riding Hood had brought in her basket.